Now, the rest of the story.
Well, I think this is going to be the last, oh, not the last, but last update-ish video you guys are going to have before things really take off. I know the last video pretty much covered some stuff, but tomorrow, as of October 27th is what today is, for those of you keeping score, we've been shut down since, what, Thursday of last week? Maybe Friday, don't really know at this point, but it's been wet. Some people have been running, but the reason that I haven't been getting carried away running out and trying to get corn in or try to do some tillage or whatnot is because of the forecast. And of course we've been lied to many times before when it comes to if it's actually going to stay true or not, but they're calling for 40s, 50s, mostly sunny, clear, whatever else. No moisture in the forecast whatsoever. I mean, maybe a 20% chance, but a 20% chance is pretty much dry. So starting tomorrow, we're going to go through and we're going to fire the combine up and work on the last of our down corn, which is probably going to take 3 to 4 days. Pull the reel of despair off the combine, which Ryan and I just got done putting on. The reason that they call it the reel of despair, or the individual that we got it from, is because it's a last ditch effort, kind of like a rotary harrow is when you decide to drag one of those across the field. When you have something like this mounted on the front of your combine or onto your corn head, you're not doing it to have fun. It's more of a salvage operation at that point. Now, the home farm is without a doubt hit the worst. We haven't been into any of the stuff at my brother's place, but I have some that is leaned over. I have some that is flat, but hopefully be done with that by the end of the week, and everything else we have left to run through, which is about 150 acres, give or take. That is actually standing good enough. We can pull the reel of despair, the reel of shame. What do you guys call them? What would you call them? I don't know. I generally have quite a bit of resentment when you're going across the field with this thing hanging off the front of the combine, but it works. Another thing that works out really well too, let me grab my light real quick. I know some people would probably frown at doing this, but I guess it worked out much better, is actually running the little teeth, the homemade, these are actually off of the silo unloader from the cement silo. Work the same concept. They just bolted onto the auger to help dig off the face of the silage, but these sticking out actually help pull the corn into the auger, because the problem is, and you get the plant, the stalk likes to get in right in, well, let's do this. The plant likes to get right in there and then just sit and ride, because the auger here doesn't have anything to really grab. Problem solved. So when that auger comes around, you guys can kind of see that. It comes around, it catches that stalk and helps pull it into the head. As far as the wind damaged corn, it's not yielding as great as it could, as it should. I mean, it's actually a full ear, I give it credit for that, but it's a little guy. I actually have some that had gotten a lot of nitrogen this summer. It's not 100% everything of ours, but I did have a yield check was done on it, not by me, and I don't even know the results yet. So these are the kind of ears that I'm looking at in some of my corn. Generally, you figure the length of your hand is all that you really want them. Now, when I say this thing had a lot of nitrogen, it had the liquid with the planter in furrow on the seed. It had nitrogen liquid 28 on our first pass spray. It was broadcast not top dress, but we had, well, I can't remember if we did, we've discussed both. Either we broadcasted urea or we sprayed everything with liquid 28 up front. I think we sprayed everything with liquid 28 up front. Not a big fan of that at all. Then all the corn that I showed you, and then I went through, I side dressed it with a cultivator. So my cultivator setup did side dress nitrogen at about the middle of June, early June. And then Andrew actually went through and wide dropped it again. And it was wind damaged. It's not flat, it's leaning over. I was told by the individual that pulled those ears to do the test, said that there were a bunch of snapped off plants, not a huge amount, but it is going to affect your overall population at the end. But I'm a little anxious to see what that field actually yields, just compared to everything else that's running. 100 bushels plus less than APH would pretty much sum up everything that has been wind damaged from the summer storms. So the combine is ready to go, fueled up, greased, whatever else. I was carrying this around for you because you guys could see a little bit of a farmer fix. This is off the round baler. Did this late at night, broke a spring, and farmer ingenuity, I actually just found a lock washer that would fit just because I was in a hurry, and just brazed it on. Worked great. It's not showing any signs of failing, and I probably could have just kept it on and just ran it, right? I don't like doing that. I don't like being one of those individuals that runs their equipment with panic fixes, I think is a good way to say it. Just because it's already failed, it's subject to fail again. The spring was like nothing. I'd rather run it with a brand new spring that's meant to be on it, as opposed to just kind of what I threw together. We're not done baling fodder. We're going to be doing that probably in the upcoming week. Still planning on making the fodder off the home farm because that has the worst amount of damage on it. Or down corn, so the whole point of trying to harvest the down corn or make the fodder off the down corn at the home farm is that any ears that are unharvestable by the combine, we're going through and raking it up with the V-rake and kind of sweeping the field and trying to get as much of those ears picked up as possible. Now, are we going to have much volunteer corn next year because of that? Absolutely. What are we going to do to avoid that? To keep that from happening? Well, yes, I'm planning on going through and chiseling all the corn stalks that are going into soybeans next year, just regardless. Really not in my typical tillage plan, but just with some of the longer stalks that are on it and trying to just turn it under is the plan. All of the corn ground at the home farm, Rockville here, and actually the rest of the farms that got damaged, that was corn, is actually going into soybeans next year across the board, and we're actually able to spray for that volunteer corn and clean the fields up. We typically do it in the past. We didn't really do it this year. We didn't do it this year, and the fields really, the beans really didn't have much volunteer corn in them. Next year, we're going to. I know for a fact. I mean, the damage is the worst I've ever seen it. The corn loss, the header loss, it's just, it's 2020. You just want it to be done. That's just where we're at. Got through getting the 4640 hooked up to the chisel plow. Yes, we are going to be running this chisel plow again. Am I crazy about it? No. Was I looking for a different chisel plow? Yes. I got really close to buying a couple on auctions. Didn't pan out, probably for the better. We only have one disc in the shed right now. The 630 is gone. Been actually casually looking at tillage tools and really not in a big hurry to run back around and buy another disc. The money that I didn't turn around and spend the money that I made off of selling the 630. I put it away, and it's actually returned me. I made a little bit of money off of that money, as opposed to just leaving it sit in a spot in the machine shed and a tillage tool that we'd rather not be using. We did use it as a last minute situation this year, and the corn shows. That 630 was absolutely terrible. I had a big problem with it for 2 reasons, and the reasons being is A, it is actually smaller than this machine. It's not as wide, so we really didn't think it was, but probably by 2 or 3 feet. Secondly, it did not have the rolling baskets. I don't know, for some of my farmer viewers out there, please chime in. Have you run a rolling basket versus a drag harrow? Because I found one that had a 5-section drag harrow behind it. I'm not really shied away from something like that, but I was also told that the harrows, it seems like they fluff the ground a little bit more. They kind of put air into it. They don't really pack it, and that's not something I really want, but I definitely want some kind of seed bed finishing tool to be dragged behind the machine. Secondly, and the big reason why I didn't like that disc that I found, is that it didn't have these. It didn't have the rock flex or the spring cushions, depending on what kind of situation you're in. These are great for going through conditions that do have rocks. It allows the blades to kind of move away from them, and you're not putting the whole weight of the machine down onto a blade that is hitting a rock. I mean, rocks are unavoidable for us, unfortunately, and the problem is that it was a 637 32-foot disc. That's what I was looking at. I'm not going to buy it because it did have the solid suspensions on it instead of the spring suspension, so it was a solid piece of steel, and I do feel like that was part of the problem with getting the field leveled with the 630. Plus I felt the machine was too light. But the 637 that I was looking at, I'm no longer looking at it anymore. 32 feet wide, and it had enough frame on it that I'm not exactly worried about the wings not being able to stay onto the soil, and having the spring suspension I think would have actually helped with that. So as far as the chisel plow goes, it's had its work done to it for like the umpteenth time. New hoses on it on the front gang because these were all dry rotted out and looked terrible. New hoses, I went through and did adjust, or did my my markings so I know which hoses go where, so that way when I pull the hydraulic lever back, it picks everything up. It'll pick the gangs up on that hydraulic lever. It'll pull the wheels up on that hydraulic lever. My instructor at school really didn't understand why farmers insist that it's got to be like that. He actually attributed a lot to the Tonka truck toys that we played when we were kids, where when you went to go pick the little end loader up or the little arm up, you always pulled back for it to lift up. That's probably a lot more accurate than what he probably thinks. So we had a problem with the back end of this chisel plow with these bolts right here backed out. I hit them all with Loctite. I took them all out, tightened with Loctite, or hit them with Loctite, tightened them all back down, torqued them as well as I could. The problem I have is the chisel plow is tweaked. You can see that it happened from the front bar. Looks like it was hit, turned too short, whatever. That beam is bent in. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be straight. And this tire, this wheel right here, at one point, I don't know if it's actually from me, like from using it, but this tire, when you had it all the way up, it couldn't spin freely. It was actually hitting the frame, and it's actually wore out. You guys can't see it because the tire's up, but it's actually got all the paint wore off right down in here on the sidewall. That's why we have a new rim, have a new tire, because it destroyed the old one. So I went through and I pulled this one back straight as best I could. Chances of it being right back out, hitting the frame by the time we're done with tillage, almost 110%, just because of how light this machine is built. Can't really seem to avoid it. But what I am trying to do, what I tried to do, is I did go for the 3-inch sweeps as opposed to the 4-inch sweeps that we had on it. The reason I did that is because less drag, less dirt I'm trying to move. Maybe it'll pull a little bit easier. Maybe, hopefully. Well, 9 3-inch shovels compared to 9 4-inch shovels. Technically, that's actually 9 less inches of dirt that we're trying to move. So I did actually pull this across the field with 76 this spring, pulling the 4-inch shovels. I did a little bit down at my place with it. That's why they're all shined up already. But I don't like putting the 76 on this. Not that it can't pull it, and honestly, it could probably pull it even better now. The 76 is pretty much, I'm concerned about having transmission issues with it. I was already told that I should expect it. It was in for work this spring. You guys, for the most part, already know that. The problem with the work that it had done with it this spring is that they did a pressure check across the whole tractor, and they did say that one of the oh my god, I hate being sick. One of the why can't I think of it? Yeah, if you guys can't tell, I'm not 100% yet. But only part of the transmission is only engaging 80% of what it should be. If it's the clutch packs. But they already told me that it's something it's already present, it's there. It's going to be becoming more of an issue the longer I run it. So he said, fair warning, just so you know. I mean, it was my buddy that told me that. I mean, I trust everything he tells me. I don't really see him as trying to lead me down the wrong path of saying that, well, you need to fix it right now, but I don't. I ran it all summer and it ran like a champ. I was pulling 25,000 pounds of corn home from one of our farther farms, about 10 miles up a nasty steep hill, Brulard Hill, for those of you that are familiar with the area. Handles it just fine. It's just that when I get done paying for this spring's work, which was over 10 grand, I'll probably spin around and do it all over again with transmission work. So, sun's getting kind of low. I got one more job to do, and then I'm going to head home and try to get some sleep because I probably won't be sleeping for the next 2 weeks. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. You guys are watching the rest of the story. I might not be quite as handsome as Paul Harvey, but you know what? I got my days. So, I'll talk to you guys later.